And we're talking about your marriage, your family, with Dr. Eli Karam. And Dr. Karam, today we're going to focus on taking care of your senior parents, correct?
Yeah, right.
I want to read an email. And by the way, if you have an email that you'd like, a topic that you'd like addressed by Dr. Karam, go to kamft.org. That's Kentucky Association Marriage and Family Therapy.org, but it's kamft.org. That's where you receive this email, correct?
That's right. You can send us an email there, and that'll kind of gauge our future topics on our segments on Thursdays on the show.
All right, this one's interesting. A lot of us are going through this, so it's very relatable. My sister and I can't agree on how to take care of my 73-year-old mother. She's in debt, needs to move out into a smaller home now that she's a widow. She doesn't want to go. My sister thinks she knows best and doesn't value my input, but always expects my time and help. How do we proceed? Ella in E-Town. Ella, thank you very much for the email. Dr. Karam, this one's all yours.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, Ella, I do thank you very much for the email. And the reality is that there's about 10 million Americans who are age, kind of midlife, age 50 or over, that are taking care of their parents, either emotionally or we think in financial ways. So we're going to have some tips for you, but you're not alone. In fact, we call this the sandwich generation, in the sense that you're sandwiched between launching your own children, if you have them, John, and also kind of letting, taking care of your aging parent or parents. So first tip, Ella, if you have siblings, you have to get siblings on board. This is not something that you can do alone if you don't have to. Now, when I say get them on board, does that mean everybody's going to do everything equally? No, actually I have a mom, we have Mother's Day coming up. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. She's going to have her hip replaced, and my brother and I are kind of negotiating how we're going to help my mom. And one sibling always does more. The labor is developed differently. Somebody might be more financially able to support. Other people, especially if they're local, my brother and I are geographically split out. My mom is here in town, my brother's in New York. So one sibling can do more caregiving, more daily checking in, but you have to have the siblings on board. And if you have kind of conflict in your sibling relationship stemming from when you were little, or even in the here and now, if you're in 30s, 40s, or beyond, you got to resolve that conflict with your sibling. You got to come together to take care of your parents. Another tip is you want this to be not a one-time conversation. It is an ongoing dialogue with your parents, in the sense that hopefully you're not waiting for a crisis to arise, John. So you have in advance kind of seen these things coming up. You've started the dialogue with their parents, what they're going to need. And it's great. It used to be, you know, we did not have to worry about financially taking care of our parents. In these economic times, you need to know what your parents' financial situation is, because emotional support, while important, might not be enough. You might be financially and emotionally helping your parent. In fact, there's another statistic that a lot of this sandwich generation, over their lifetime, as far as lost wages and financial support given to their parents, are spending over $300,000 taking care of their parents, which is a staggering figure, especially if you're not prepared. So not only shouldn't be a one-time conversation, another tip is you want to try to honor your parents' wishes. And even if you are frustrated, if your parent is in physical decline or mental decline, you want to think of what they did do for you. And even those of us that have a conflictual relationship with our parents can usually go back and remember some time where we feel kind of loyal, or we feel warm feelings. So the reality is, it is something that you have to honor your parents' wishes, and you have to know what's going on, though. So Ella, you working with your sister, you have to have a kind of a document box or go-to files, in the sense that a lot of our parents, they are the keeper of the knowledge. You don't know what they have, what accounts, what debts, or even what they have around their house. So you want to come up with a checklist and a document box as far as wills, as far as any other important piece of information that, should an emergency happen or your parent needs you to step in, that you would know how to deal with. That's why, again, you have to keep the conversation going. And you know, our last tip is to really explore other resources, because we know very quickly, John, that you could burn out. If you were the sole caregiver, or even working with a team, taking care of your parents, psychological, physical stress on yourself, not to mention your own relationship, if you're in one, can happen very easily. So you got to take care of yourself, and you got to connect to community resources, whether that be some people are heavily involved in their church, or a senior group, or some type of home support or delivery. You want to hook your parent up to as many of those resources as you can.
I would think, Dr. Karam, that this is becoming pretty common with the aging baby boomers.
Yes.
Common, but yet all unique. My question is, if you have an aging parent and they're still mentally okay, would it be smart to bring them to such a meeting with someone like yourself?
Yeah, that's great. So let's say I'm having a hard time sitting down with mom and dad talking about the plan, or my sibling's not on board. What I want to do, John, is go call up a marriage and family therapist, and you can do that by, as we've said many times on the show, you can go to www.therapistlocator.net, click on that little red rectangle that says locate a therapist, and then what you want to do is talk to them about, do you do family of origin work? That's our word for taking an adult child, working with the parent to put together a plan to do this. And many marriage and family therapists around Wave Country are experienced in doing this. So if you're stuck trying to put together a plan, you can use a marriage and family therapist to do that.
You know, although sometimes you talk about these topics and they seem to be negative because it usually has to do with someone declining, but actually this can be a positive. You mentioned something and I thought it showed your compassionate side, doctor, which you have, and I love that. As you said, you know, think of the things your parent did for you. Step in, feel good about this. Get with your siblings and say, okay, it's time to take care of mom. It's time to take care of dad.
It is. It's like this full circle effect, John, this idea that you can kind of give back, and if you can do that and kind of in the process learn something about your parent. A lot of times we view our parents in this idealistic way, or we don't see them with faults, or the reverse of that, we see them full of faults and we don't want anything to do with them. Well, this kind of coming to terms in later life, you yourself at midlife and your parent aging, it's really a different way to look at it and can kind of unburden a lot of the baggage that had built up over the years if you do it the right way. And at the very least, you hold your head high, you honor your parent, and you know, you model something that you'd want your own kids to do for you when you get to that age.
Sure. I think it's a tough one. It's a very sensitive subject because you have this balance between, yes, it's business, there's some business involved. You mentioned wills, real estate, etc. But then there's also the family, very personal side of it that is involved. So I think it's a good idea to get a hold of a professional, get in touch with a professional like yourself.
Without a doubt, sure.
All right, once again, that's kamft.org, or if you're looking for a therapist, therapistlocator.com. I recommend you jump on there, find yourself a licensed marriage and family therapist like Dr. Karam, who is the president of the Kentucky Association of Marriage and Family Therapy. Thank you so much, Dr. Karam.
Always look forward to it on Thursdays.
You did an excellent job. You articulated it very well. Coming up, we've got money for you, $1,000, thv.com. Jump on there.